It was the moment that viewers knew deep down was coming. That one scene where Christine stood in her kitchen, her voice shaking, eyes full of disappointment, telling Cody that intimacy was no longer on the table. That wasn't just a marriage breaking. That was Christine drawing a line in the sand after years of pushing her own needs aside. It was the beginning of something greater than divorce. It was her finally choosing. Hi friend, welcome back to my channel. If you've been following Sister Wives from the beginning, or even just caught a few episodes recently, you already know this show isn't just about plural marriage. It's about power, identity, and the quiet battles happening behind closed doors. If you're here for the real talk, the real emotions, and the truth behind what's really happening in this family, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and let me know in the comments. Did you see Christine's exit coming? Or were you just as surprised as the rest of us today? We're exploring one of the most unforgettable changes in reality TV, Christine Brown's quiet rebellion that became a public transformation. For years, viewers watched her smile through being sidelined. We saw the pain behind her eyes, the way her voice cracked every time she tried to justify her position in a marriage that didn't see her. But now all of that is changed. She's no longer seeking space in someone else's life. She's making her own. And honestly, it's one of the most powerful transformations we've ever witnessed on this show. Let's discuss how she got there. When Christine first arrived on Sister Wives, she exuded warmth. There was this youthful glint in her eyes, a firm conviction that she was part something greater, something divine. Back then, she was not just another wife in a plural marriage. She was the one who made this choice. Unlike the others who doubted or were hesitant, Christine was Allen. She believed in the principle, in the family tie, in the shared love that plural marriage was said to bring. She even said in those early interviews that she wanted to be the third wife. She enjoyed the idea of a hectic household packed with kids and sister wives. But what she didn't understand then, what she would ultimately learn the hard way, was how isolated that position could grow to be in those earlier seasons. It was simple to miss the red flags. Christine was frequently filmed cooking for all, aiding with children, chuckling in the background. She was the nice wife, the one who was able to lighten things up. But as seasons progressed, the cracks in that ideal family facade began to reveal. Christine wasn't only feeling left out, she was left out when the family relocated to Flagstaff, and Cody began spending more and more time with Robyn. Christine wasn't afraid of expressing how invisible she felt. In one episode, she collapsed, crying. She felt like a basement wife. That was a stinger. That phrase was painful. It wasn't merely a matter of physical space. It was emotional. She wasn't a priority. She wasn't being seen. There was that gut-wrenching moment when Christine admitted that she had begged for attention, begged to feel wanted in her own marriage. And what did she get in return? Distance, excuses, a husband who never quite showed up for her the way he did for someone else. She stayed for years believing things would change, but little by little her hope turned into heartbreak, and the woman who once championed plural marriage began to realize she was being left behind in her own story. Season 16 of Sister Wives wasn't just dramatic, it was heartbreaking. It was the season where everything Christine had been swallowing for years came rushing to the surface, and we as viewers felt every ounce of it. By the time we saw her quietly packing up Cody's belongings from her garage, we knew this wasn't a temporary fight or another emotional episode that would be smoothed over by family therapy. This was final. The manner in which she folded his shirts, taped up boxes, and carried them out alone. It was symbolic. She wasn't clearing out a closet. She was closing a chapter of her own volition. But what struck even harder were the confessionals. Christine didn't scream. She didn't throw objects or play it up for the cameras. She sat there poised but shattered and spoke the truth. She said she felt betrayed. She said she had been heartbroken for years. And in one of the most gut-punching moments of the entire series, she finally admitted that she couldn't keep putting on a smile and pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. She said, "I don't want to be married to Cody anymore." And the way she said it, it wasn't angry, it was tired, it was genuine. Then came that conversation, the moment that would go down as one of the most replayed scenes of the season. Cody told Dean that intimacy was on the table. That was it. That was the bottom line. After 25 years, 6 children, and decades of sacrifices, that off long before he ever owned up to it. Out loud, the responses swamped and viewers were emotional. Some cried as she cried. Others were enraged reached on her behalf, remembering all the years she'd been quiet. But above all, people finally saw Christine, not as a background character, but as a woman who was accomplished, putting herself on the line just to keep a dysfunctional family together. That day wasn't so much her breaking point, it was her wake-up call. Christine's choice to leave Arizona wasn't impulsive. One, it had taken years. You could see it in her eyes, in how she glanced about their house, at the life she had established, and given up for only to find that it was no longer the life she wanted when she ultimately made the decision to relocate back to Utah. It wasn't physically moving. It was the assertion of claiming her happiness. It was about picking herself over the discord that had been her marriage to Cody and her role within the family. But the most emotional aspect of that choice came when she had the conversation with her youngest daughter. Really just a little girl, looked up at her mom with a mix of confusion and crying, fighting back tears. She told her that they were going to begin a new life in Utah. Everything was going to be fine, she assured, really attempting to steady her own feeling as much as she was attempting to reassure her daughter's fears. It was tragic to see, especially knowing how much Christine had been shouldering on her own, still placing her daughter's welfare above. Then the tearful goodbye with the other wives that moment. Those last hugs seemed like the real end of an era. Christine, always the peacemaker, the one who attempted to keep everything together, was finally laying it down. The others, particularly Janelle, appeared to get it, but there was so much left unspoken in those farewells. It wasn't so much a change of geography, it was the close of the family dynamic which had structured their lives for so long. The emotional gravity of it all was apparent. This wasn't all about escaping a house or estate. This was about escaping the choking habits that had held Christine back from living for herself. After that, we saw less and less of Christine in the family get-togethers. Her presence was missed. It was not the physical space. It was like the air had changed, and it was obvious Christine was taking back her life, her autonomy. She no longer was a wife competing for attention, or a woman stuck in a marriage that left her feeling invisible. She was, for the first time in a long while, Christine, the woman who was about to put her own happiness first. Christine's love journey after leaving Cody wasn't just a page of her life, it was a total rewrite. In 2022, fans first saw Christine's new happiness when she introduced the world to David Woolley through a cute Instagram post. She posted a picture of herself walking hand in hand with David, smiling brighter than we'd seen her in years. This was a woman who was willing to accept something different, something real, and something that was just for her. David, a man who seemed to provide the support and stability Christine had longed for, seemed to be everything that Cody wasn't. Kind, attentive, and genuinely interested in making Christine feel appreciated. The change in her energy was almost tangible. For the first time in a long time, Christine's social media updates glowed with happiness and self-assurance. There was a sense of freedom in her smile, a spark that had been absent for years. Her fans were over the moon for her, not only because she was moving on, but because they could tell how much this new relationship meant to her. Then, in 2023, the moment arrived. Christine and David wedded. The wedding was cozy, full of love and warmth, and you could see how incredibly different Christine looked. There was no longer any trace of the sadness and exhaustion that had defined her years with Cody. She was beaming, glowing with a happiness she hadn't experienced in so long. This wasn't a wedding of obligation or compromise, it was a wedding of choice. Christine was marrying the man who made her feel loved and respected, and it was clear that this was her new start. But it wasn't only her love life that was thriving. Christine's new Utah home was a representation of her new beginning. The warm, inviting room was hers, to design a place where she could finally live on her own terms. She started to venture into new business endeavors, such as her online business, where she wrote about her life and connected with fans on a more deeper level. Seeing her develop both personally and professionally has been motivating, and it's obvious that Christine is thriving in ways she never could in her previous life. The happiness she radiated wasn't only in her posts or her wedding day, it was in everything that she did. Fans couldn't help but feel as if they were seeing the blossoming of someone who had been kept back for so long now, finally getting into her own light. And it wasn't so much about her relationship with David, it was about Christine getting back her voice, taking control of her happiness, and living her life the way she always deserved. Christine's change did not end at the level of her love life. It stretched into the workplace as well. After dumping Cody and the polygamy lifestyle. Christine emerged into a whole new persona. She was no longer just the wife of a polygamist. She was a businesswoman, an influencer, and a woman in full command of her future. Christine began constructing her rental property venture, employing her newfound independence to invest in real estate. She became a landlord, flipping houses and leasing out properties. It was a good fit for her, an empowering way to create something concrete while also providing her with the freedom to live life on her own terms. The business venture gave her the opportunity to express her entrepreneurial side, and it was obvious that she was taking steps to secure her financial future in a manner she never could have when she was with Cody. But it wasn't only real estate that Christine was wading into. Her Instagram, a place where once she shared family moments, now became a destination for brand deals, collaborations, and promotions. Christine collaborated with supplement brand, marketing wellness products that tied in with her new emphasis on health and self-care. Her post indicated her new lifestyle, active, vibrant, and unapologetically herself. Fans were embracing her authenticity, and her brand deals only did more to increase that connection. It wasn't so much about selling products, it was sharing what worked for her, and fans couldn't help but look at how she was making her passion into a successful venture. Christine's development as a businesswoman was also evident in her increasing distance from the Sister Wives show. As she embraced her new life, her participation in the family gatherings became less common. She was leaving the shadow of the show and making a name for herself outside the confines of the old life. It wasn't bitter divorce, but just a decision, a conscious choice to move ahead and evolve. Her public supported her along the way, enthusiastic to see her thriving in a way they hadn't anticipated. It was obvious Christine was no longer merely an actress on reality TV. She was a woman firmly in control of her fate. As Christine settled into her new life, Cody found himself coming apart in a way that was difficult to ignore. The consequences of her leaving was a weight he couldn't shake. In the emotional moments of Sister Wives season 18 and 19, viewers witnessed Cody grappling with the repercussions. He was no longer the tough in charge figure that he believed he was. The cracks in his bravado became increasingly obvious in season 18. Cody opened up in confessionals, and for the first time, he had expressed regret at the way things had ended with Christine. It wasn't easy for him to admit, but the hurt of losing her was undeniable. He admitted that he had failed her. The relationship that had once looked like it would last forever had broken down, and Cody was left with the realization that he hadn't really valued Christine in the manner she deserved. His regret didn't end there. By season 19, his tone towards Robyn had changed, and it was obvious that things were beginning to turn sour even in their relationship. While Robyn had been his emotional support and his primary focus, the pressure of everything started to tell. There were times when Cody was clearly frustrated, no longer able to keep it together as he used to. But perhaps the saddest scenes were when Cody attempted to reconnect with his children, especially with his son. The effort to mend fences with his children seemed forced, and it was painful to see him struggle. The reality that his family was disintegrating before his eyes struck him hard. Christine's leaving left him not only with an empty home, but with a deep sense of loss that he couldn't conceal. No matter how hard he tried, fans could see that Cody was unraveling, and his efforts to repair things seemed like a frantic clutch at a life that had already slipped away. Christine's path took another dramatic turn when she announced her 2023. It wasn't merely another piece of news, it was a strong statement. Christine was no longer merely the polygamist wife of Sister Wives. She was taking back her story, setting the stage for a more in-depth examination of her life and experiences. In a heartfelt social media update, Christine teased fans with a peek at her new book. For the first time, her voice would be the one to share her story, without the filter of the cameras or the producers guiding the narrative. The news caused shockwaves among her fan base, with many desperately hoping for the memoir's release. What would Christine have to tell about her life in the family? What was it really like behind closed doors, where viewers were only getting a part of the truth? This book would provide fans with the solutions they had been waiting for, giving her unfiltered take on everything: her childhood, her early experiences with Cody, the difficulties of polygamy, and the heartache she had suffered in her marriage. Christine's book was a declaration of independence for so long had she been a part of the sister wives movement, but now she no longer required it to be heard. She had constructed a life outside of the cameras, one in which her voice was her own and her story could now be told in her own words. Fans could not wait to hear her side, to learn about the woman who had devoted so many years of being ignored and neglected, and to find out just how far she had come in taking charge of her life. The memoir wasn't a book, it was Christine's last word, and fans knew it would be as strong and real as the woman herself. Christine's leaving the dysfunction of the Brown family wasn't a breakup. It was a rebirth. She chose herself. At last, she left the dysfunction, the manipulation, and the constant emotional roller coaster that had characterized her life for so long. In doing so, she didn't leave just Cody. She left behind a whole chapter of her life that no longer benefited her, and that, my friend, says a lot. Christine is no longer involved with the sister wives drama, and that says something about her strength and the clarity she's achieved within herself. She's not surviving anymore. She's thriving now, that she's constructing her new life, her family, her career, and her romance with David. She's showing that it's never too late to begin again, to regain your happiness, and to really live the life you deserve. And while sister wives may carry on without her, the story of Christine's life is anything but finished. So here's a question for you. Do you think Christine will ever return? Will she return to the show in some capacity, or is she finished with that part of her life for good? I'd love to get your input, so be sure to comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more of the latest news on all things Sister Wives. You won't want to miss what's on the way. Thanks for watching.